here we are. Okay, welcome to devlog number 2. So I'm going to try and do this in one take, because the last time I did it, I tried to edit it. Didn't really work out. I'm pretty new to this, so I'm trying to learn as I go. But I want to do it in one take because I think it's better to keep it natural, even if I make some mistakes. So bear with me. So today I just want to talk about the sequence functionality, variations, what I've been working on recently. Just quickly introduce it. So we have here on the left a sequencer. We have here the graph and the lerper. I won't talk about that because I've introduced that already. And we've broken the app essentially into two parts. We have the sequencer and we have the graph. Now the graph, it handles the audio and anything that comes from the sequencer or from the user input goes into the graph. It gets channeled out to the right instruments. Those instruments, they create sounds. They also accept positions from the lerper, manipulate the sounds, and that goes through a mixer, which eventually goes out to the speakers. So that's what the graph is. The sequence is very much, well, the sequence provides two main pieces of functionality. I'm only really going to talk about one today, but the two pieces of functionality is it provides notes to send to the graph and automation, so we can record automation for these lerping handles as we move them around, and we can play it back. But it also provides a very powerful functionality to be able to manipulate the sequence in time, on the fly, in real time. So what do I mean by that? We can create events in the sequence, and they're called function events. And when they are executed, they execute some code, and that code can manipulate the state of the sequence in almost any way you can imagine and continue playing. From that point, it can also set the play position. It can manipulate the graph. It can do almost anything. It is a complete scripting language. And I think that's the crux of this app. It's extremely powerful, but I'm not going to talk about that today because it really deserves its own video. So I'm just going to talk about the sequence and the UI around it itself. So let's get into it. I'll start by recording something. So I'm just going to record some, just going to bash out some notes here, and you'll hear there's a metronome in the background, so we'll try and keep something in time. So we've recorded something there. It's it's just us playing around. And as you can see, we have some notes here. We can see our automation there. The representation of it is just a placeholder that's going to be improved a lot. But as you can see, we have our notes here as well. And probably the biggest thing with the sequencer or the sequence UI is that you may notice it's an infinite canvas, and that is probably different to most DAWs that you're used to, where there will be a separate editor for the notes. If you use something like GarageBand or Logic, you double click on these parts and that will open a separate editor and you can modify the notes that way. With this application, if you zoom in, you can start modifying the notes directly. There's no disconnect there. It's a completely seamless process. You can move in and start doing anything with the notes you want, modify them to your heart's content, and zoom out, and then start to modify things at a more macro scale as well. So that was super important for me. I wanted to have a really seamless workflow as you go through creating your music. I don't want to be thinking about which window is open, and I want to edit another part of the song, so I have to open another window, I have to close the current one, but then I want to go back, and all of that extra work, it sort of adds up, and it just makes creating music that much more of a chore. I don't want creating music to be a chore. I want it to be fun. I want it to be super enjoyable. I want it to feel like a game, almost like you're playing a game. And the difference between this and a game is you get some nice music at the end of it. You get something, you create something at the end of it. So I think that's really important to feel that creative process is not laborious, but it's actually really enjoyable. So the infinite canvas was a big thing for me. And obviously the advantage is you can zoom right in. The zoom is non-linear as well. So as you can see, you can stretch things out horizontally. You know, you can stretch things out vertically if you do that. And it gives us a lot of freedom to be able to manipulate things at a very detailed level, or we can zoom out and we can manipulate things at an overall level, which I think is very important. Also, probably notice as you zoom in, we have this little keyboard roll. It's not fully functional yet. Eventually it will be, but the keyboard roll allows us to figure out what the notes are doing as we move them around, and the vertical range of each of these takes gets automatically adjusted as we add and remove more notes and move them around. So that is that. Now I just want to talk a little bit about the elements of the sequence, and I think we'll wrap this video up pretty quickly. I don't want to take too long. As I said, I want to get it done in one take. So let's just quickly talk about the elements of the sequence. We have these particular containers. I call them note containers, but I actually call them takes. So they're like a take. When you do a recording, that's one take. If the recording loops over, you can do another take. So if we hit record again, I don't know if this is going to sound too good, but we'll try. So it'll play the existing take. So I move some notes around so it's not sounding too harmonious at the moment, but as you can see, I've recorded another take there. If I click on that take, you can see the keyboard has adjusted itself to line up with that take. And if I click the original, it adjusts the keyboard back. We also have these little stalks, which are just velocity. We can select them. The UI is not complete here, but we can adjust the velocity as a proportion, which is really nice. And the automation is also a take. So we have these takes, they contain notes, they contain automation, and then you'll notice we have this big sort of container for the takes, and I'm going to call this a container. In the app I call it a part, but I'll probably name it something else that's a bit more obvious. I think containers may be okay, maybe a packet or something like that. But as the name suggests, it contains takes, and the whole point of this container is you can move around a combination of takes that fit together, and you can keep them tight as a single unit, and you can manipulate them as a single unit. For me, that's very important to be able to do. I think that's something that's going to become crucial as I start to develop more live sequences that manipulate themselves in real time. The ability to take that packet and chop it up, move it around, slow it down, reverse it, do all sorts of things to it, I think is going to be really essential, especially when you have multiple instruments working together and you want to retain that sort of harmonious section of instruments working together, but you also want to manipulate them, that harmonious section, as one, if that makes sense. So I mean, that's basically it for the sequencer at the moment. One other important feature that I have been working on, and then I think we'll leave it, is looping. So looping is just the ability to loop these packets. We can also loop, the interface isn't perfect. You see there. So we can also loop the parts as well. The takes as well. And they're just aliases of each other. And the looping functionality is just something I wanted in there because we have this metronome up here that completely relies on loops. And the loops, they sort of just, as you can see, they're an alias of each other. If we move a note in one, it moves it in all of them. And that was just a feature I wanted because we have to implement a metronome anyway. I might as well just use the existing features we have rather than creating a completely separate code path just to handle the metronome. So that is basically it for now. Just from now on, I've been spending a lot of time sort of over the last month just really making this whole thing a lot more stable, building tests and that sort of thing. So the next sort of step is to refine the UI here, make it more usable, basically use it to write music, and then figure out what I don't like about it, what I want to improve, make those improvements, then go and write some more music and figure out what needs to be improved again, just repeating that process until it becomes quite a refined, tight sort of experience. And then at that point, I'll probably work on some performance things. I'll probably go back to the graph, and hopefully we can start to think about getting it in front of other users and then doing the same thing, getting some feedback from users, at least seeing how they use it and making improvements based on that. So that is the path. That is the road path, the roadmap. And I think that's about it. I don't want to keep this recording too much longer, so we'll end it there. I will probably do another recording about the function events, maybe now. Yeah, maybe now. And I'll see you next time.